Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Truly is a magnificent Monday for many reasons. Hey, Susan is back. Yeah, we missed her. I know you missed her as well, especially some of you who have the key. 949-8037. We want you to join us for our first discussion. Good friend, Mr. Neil Murray, will tell us about some football and our youth. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us here on this truly magnificent Monday with Neil Murray. See how the M's just rolled together? Hey, Mr. Murray, I must share, man. You are a great example, not just as a father, but as a truly involved, committed member of our community. And, you know, your participation in football from the day I'm told, you know, you found a football just laying around and you started kicking it. Someone told me you were 3 months old. I believe I heard. Is that true?
No, I can't even remember that far, actually, but... we remember the good old days in West Bay and the town hall field and all that kind of stuff. So that's just came natural.
Man, field without grass. Oh, so it was a big pitch between the middle. Yeah. But we had fun though.
Yeah, or down in, is it Goat Yard down in Bosun Bay when they had that sand field down by the water? That was unbelievable days, man.
Yeah, man. We played oceanfront.
Oh,
but you know, the reason, and I thank you for sharing, and it's I say this to people, there is this humility in some of us. There is this, I know, how about just said it this morning, you know, sort of braggadociousness and so on, right? I heard that word in so long, but it's because, you know, people like you that make things different, and your continued involvement, especially in our youth and their development, not just on the field, but the example. I think it helps us out. And now that we look at the upcoming CFU tournament, what it could do for, you know, our own young boys, but also as they get introduced to, you know, similar players in the region. They see the skill sets, they see the same aspirations, they see the struggles, they seem to see opportunities.
No, definitely. I mean, we've, for the past couple of years now, we've kind of revitalized the youth national programs. It's no longer tournaments on the horizon, let's put a team together. We've been doing it since 2011. Our current under-20 national team has been together since 2011. That's 7 years. That's probably the most a national team has ever been in the Cayman Islands. And since then, we've been able to... go to the under-17 boys. They've been together for 4 years. We just started under-15 boys in February. The under-15 girls who just returned from Florida from the CONCACAF Championships, they've been together since the beginning of the year. So they're actually preparing now. Once that under-15 tournament finished, they're now under-17. So they're now preparing for the under-17 World Cup qualifiers next year. So no longer are we just putting teams together for a tournament. We're actually investing in the national programs, trying to get our coaches involved, trying to get them training at least once a week. As tournament comes closer, then they increase the training. So we're trying to do it across the board, nutrition, fitness, everything like that. It's moving slowly, but at least we're having these teams together, and we're finding coaches that are suitable for that. And our next phase is to try and get our coaches qualified to the point where a lot of the stuff that they relate to the kids are proper things.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think for some, you know, who don't even follow football, and I'm surprised, and there are one or two of us still in this country who don't follow football. Shame on you. Just kidding. No, seriously, we don't appreciate that coach or those coaches must have that interest, but also that piece of thing, employers look for. They say, do you have these qualifications?
Right.
But we need to have that because they may know the sport, but being able to consistently impart that same message, the same level of technical proficiency, would make the players not just here, but as they go off to university or to try out for other teams, that they're all playing pretty much on the same field. Skill levels are different. But at least the approach is the same.
No, definitely. I mean, the coaches we have in place now are, some of them are quite experienced coaches. We have Gilly Seymour and Lee Ramon and Colin Rowe with the under-20s. That in itself, those three gentlemen there are, over 50, 60 years of football experience at the highest level.
Lee alone.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that, but I didn't want to put Gilly on the spot. But also we have younger coaches. Antoine Seymour, his son, is now is affiliated with the under-20s. He's been with us since 2011. But under-17s, we have Bruce Sigsworth, Ian Lindo, and Serge Sandy. Ian played the game at the highest level national team. Bruce has done an exceptional job. He's gone overseas to get the English FA and badges on his own. So that brings another facet to the table. And our under-15s now, we have Levain Joven, who is Pilo, as everybody knows him, and Garth Anderson, who himself has proved himself on the field. So we're trying to get guys who have experienced it on the field, and then now we're trying to get those guys into the classroom so they'll get their badges and they can go on in that sport. As you know now, it's always been voluntary, and it still is to a point. CIFA is now working on trying to implement stipends and packages for the coaches, which will alleviate some of the financial restraint on, gas and stuff. But so even with the girls, we brought in Shakina Bush, who is the women's chairperson. Let me say chairperson. That's the politically correct person.
I have
chairperson of the women's committee, and she was assistant coach at the under-15. So she's now bringing a whole new array of things to the table. So that's pretty much where we're going with our youth national programs, and hopefully when we get our funding back fully from FIFA and CONCACAF, we'll be able to supplement them with quite a few more trips or quite a few more games, quite a few more tournaments for the experience factor.
I looked at people like you, in particular, with the greatest respect to all others that you've referenced. I think they all share my view of you, the consistency, the dedication. You epitomize what this level of sacrifice and involvement is. Now, as parents, whether we have children playing, thankfully, whether it's our girls or our boys, or whether we just, fans of the game, we can draw alongside, come out as supporters and be able to help to nurture. Especially the younger players.
Right.
Eventually they get into it. They may become members of our national teams and the like. But the development they get, that discipline, and I think the time management skills in and of itself. You play a sport and you got all the other things, even at home, your parents asking, did you make your bed? Did you do this?
Right.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Have you bathed and had your homework? Whatever it is. You need to be able to manage your time. That's going to take you through life.
No, definitely. And we just spoke about the school aspect of it before we went on air, and that's another facet that we're focusing on. For the past couple of years. Well, in particular, myself, I've been trying to get opportunities for kids at schools, both at the boarding school level and at college. I think it's important. There are kids that go off for training opportunities with professional teams, but I think in reality we have to focus on the North American system and what they offer, because an opportunity to go to college, you get a degree. After that, you can do what you want. You can go try out at all these teams, spend 2-3 years touring Germany, Czech Republic, Romania, trying to get on a team, trying to play, and then at one stage you're going to hit you that says, hey, I'm 20 years old, I'm 21 years old, I've tried it, nothing's happened, now I have my degree, let me go focus on what I can do for the rest of my life. And that's once we can arm somebody with a degree, there's no going back from that. There's always a progression, there's always a pathway forwards.
And I'm trusting that as we, as a country, look at talking about, developing our people, we've used nice words like nation building and all excellent sort of ideals, but it is us, the parents, the regular people in our society who remain involved. People like you, you referenced Chico earlier. I mean, that level of involvement day in and day out, in addition to your other responsibilities of job and home and service to club and to church and to school and to all these other things.
Right.
You have to be commended. It's a lot of work, a lot of consistency.
And I think that's what we have to obviously, relay to the general public, that, if a team doesn't do particularly well in a tournament, it's, we're quick to criticize. We're quick to, that coach, you don't spend enough time. It's like, these guys are guys and girls are full-time, professionals. They have a job to do. So what they're doing on the Sundays and the Saturdays in the evenings is giving up their time to come and train these kids or national programs, and they're leaving their families at home. I mean, I find it hard myself, just to go out to watch training or do things, and it takes time away from the family. But, it's a commitment that you make, and it's something that you sit down with your family and say, this is what it involves. I'll be away for a couple of days or in the evenings. So,
well, when we come back from a break, I just want to leave with our listeners. It's actually worth it. Not to sort of celebrate what was in the past and all that, but people need to understand. If you don't mind, people like you and Lee in particular were sort of some of the first cohorts to get university scholarships. That wasn't yesterday, right? Now we're seeing this very coming school year, other students. So a few decades have passed.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, I was there.
Right. And there were people before us, too, who obviously dabbled with that, and got scholarships, too. But, yeah. And only because they're not here, I don't want to embarrass them in much way. But from then to now, people understand and realize that, it wasn't yesterday. And the reason why I mention is that we've been there, we've been, having incremental steps, and we're seeing it. That is a financial windfall for the country, because we didn't have to find money to put those, students through school. Right.
To the parents who probably may have struggled, may not have been able to afford it. But those people, if I would respectfully say, just use you and Lee as an example, right? You've come back, you've made an incredible investment and commitment, and continue to, uplift the community. And now that continued thing is paying dividends. So how many more of us now are benefiting just from two people? Now, you mentioned a lot more prior. We know of others as well. When we come back from the break, could we focus on the upcoming CFP tournament?
Definitely. Don't want to take up too much of your time, Dwayne. I know you're always a busy man, but definitely we focus on the tournament.
That's only on days ending away. The other days, not too busy.
No
all right.
problem.
Speaking of Neil Murray, I believe the phone lines are open. If for no other reason, I know when you called last week, you heard a handsome gentleman, but boy, everybody says, the voice of Susan is just not just sultry and soothing, but it's also inspiring. Yeah, sultry is okay. It's an okay word. I looked it up. I didn't. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Call, share your thoughts with us. If we can make it better together, let's do so. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Did you know that you can download free hurricane preparedness brochures from the Water Authority's website? Visit us online at www.waterauthority.ky to learn more about how you can prevent damage and minimize danger in the event of a storm. Prepared, be aware, be safe. This hurricane preparedness tip is brought to you by Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard's pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion. Brought to you by Merengue Town. Take a walk on the wild side. It's time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town. RC Fusion.
RC Fusion.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note. You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today, 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Couple of WhatsApps you can share with us if you want. That's for another segment, but nonetheless, we'll talk to them. Now we talk to Neil Murray. It's 925-3261 is our WhatsApp. And we're talking about the upcoming under 14 boys sort of international football tournament. Is it CFU?
Yes. CFU has now devised a few tournaments that would prepare the Caribbean in general for the main tournaments, which is the CONCACAF Under 15 Boys Championships, which takes place next year, August 2019 or around there. So CFU has now implemented this tournament, which is the Under 14. And it's actually spread around the Caribbean. There's quite a few groups going on at the moment. And basically what it is just to get teams that are unable to travel a lot the opportunity to play 3 or 4 games. So it's purely practice. There's no end tournament. There's no trophy. There's no nothing. It's just a method of getting some of the smaller countries like ourselves, BVI, Turks and Caicos, who find it difficult to travel to Trinidad and the Jamaicas to try and get them central located. And since it's still summer, obviously that helps as well. So they've done a multitude of groups going on in the Caribbean at the same time with different countries participating. So we were fortunate to be able to host one. We'll have Bermuda, Cuba, and we did have U.S. Virgin Islands, but unfortunately they pulled out of the tournament last week. So we're implementing a Cayman Select Under 14, which will be a fourth team in the group.
So it's 4 teams?
Yes.
No.
4 teams, yeah.
Like you said, this is under 14.
Under 14, right, which is basically what all the under 15 national programs are made up of now. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, when the CONCACAF under 15 tournament rolls around next year, you have to be eligible age-wise. So you have to be 13 and 14. Yeah.
So when that tournament next year, August, the boys specifically that are playing in that would be not 14 or would not be 15 yet.
They wouldn't be 15 yet, right. They'll be predominantly under 14, so that that's why CFU implemented this under 14 program. The boys who are 15 now would obviously be 16 next year and wouldn't be able to play in that tournament. And luckily for us, we have most of our youth national programs are quite young, so they are eligible across the board. So it works out great for us. Gives us a lot of two of the better youth national programs in the Caribbean and Cuba and Bermuda. Gives us the opportunity to see where we're at and what we need to do or what we need to do more of to improve for next year.
And that's it. Practice is what helps you to improve, help you to identify, and it gives you a chance that you can play all season round, against your fellow countrymen, as it were, whether they're going to schools in different parts of the district. But it's probably the same people that you can interact with, whether in the classroom or on the weekend somewhere. Right. Now it's different guys from different places.
No, and that's the thing. And these are the countries that you're going to participate against, not just the 15s, but the 17s, the 20s. You'll probably play these same guys as you go on in age. So it's always a good opportunity for our boys to experience what it is. And again, we're not, as an executive or as CIFA, we're scores are always good. Good scores are always a blessing. But in reality, we're just, the coaches are still tinkering with setup and who's the right player for the right position, things like that. But these games give the opportunity, as you mentioned, for the coaches to see them play against players that they're not normally playing against. The speed factor, the talent factor, all this kind of stuff is what the coaches need to do to assess the players and then move on from there.
It also gives the guys a chance to play together, to learn each other's styles, and obviously, read the next man. So you know where your play is going to be because you'll learn how to read each other, right?
No, definitely.
It makes a difference.
Well, in a perfect world, a national team is pretty much made up of the best players in those positions. And the main job of a national coach is to be able to mix those talents as one and perform the best they can on the field. National levels, World Cup levels, these coaches don't teach players how to play. These players come to them as professionals, and then the national coach's job is to assess them, make sure they can play with other players, and that's what we want to get to.
Yeah, learning to play the game at this level and then developing them so they can play it.
Of course.
All right. Tournament is what, this weekend?
Tournament starts on Saturday evening, August the 18th. 2 games on Saturday. We have 2 games on Monday the 20th, and we finish up on Wednesday the 22nd with 2 games. Both games 6 o'clock and 7:45 at Ed Bush on the 3 days.
So Saturday, Monday,
and Wednesday.
2 games.
2 games per day. Yes.
Yeah. I was looking earlier, and so I like to have my paper in front of me. You had sent me the initial draft.
We no longer use paper; it's all computers now, right?
And I'll keep looking at myself. Why can't I open this? It was a PDF. I think you said.
Oh shoot!
No, that's not your fault.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm the old school. I like to walk around with papers. So
no, listen. I said I'm the same way. Remember the first batch way back when. I remember that batch there. And I was here yesterday trying to figure out some things, and I said, you know what, let me go high-tech and map it across and send it down so I can pull it up. But anyway, I remember the schedule. It's not important. Saturday,
Right, Saturday at 6 o'clock, we have the Cayman Islands under 15 national team playing against the Cayman under 14 select. Well, let me say Cayman Islands under 14 for this tournament. At 6 o'clock, 7:45, we have Bermuda versus Cuba. On Monday, we have... Bermuda versus the Cayman under 14 select, and then the Cayman Islands play Cuba in the nightcap. And then on Wednesday, if I'm getting this right, since I don't have the paper in front of me either.
I'm testing you.
On Wednesday, Cuba plays the Cayman under 14, and we play Bermuda in the nightcap. Yeah,
I think that's what I remember it now too. But the thing is, you come out and you watch these young players, and I think people who don't normally watch youth football, they'll be thrilled to see it's the same ball, it's the same pitch, right, that you may have seen on TV with the big players, and these boys owning that, and they're playing, and they're calling football the same way, and they're making their runs towards goal and trying their set pieces, but it's amazing. It's not like you're playing this small little thing in this congested.
No, definitely. I think one of our main problems that we find with our youngsters, well, not a problem, but it's a situation, I'd like to call it, is that we're not very communicative on the field. We don't communicate, and we have a lot of the younger guys. Even when we did the 20s back in 2011, we still have players who, psychologically, we're playing Jamaica. It's like, oh gosh, and mentally they've already lost the game.
Yep.
If we're playing a club team, no problem. Once you say you're playing Jamaica or Cuba or the US or something, it's like, that's going to be difficult. So these are the things that we have to overcome, and the only way we overcome them is if we play these teams.
Well, this is why I'm hoping that. And maybe I'll say some of this now and save something for after, because where I stand with football. Right? But this is where we as a country need to come out and support.
Of course,
right?
Definitely.
We played for high school way back when, and there were 5 people in the stands, right?
Right.
4 waiting to say, this game not finished yet, I need to get these boys home,
Right.
Nobody was there. In the times, you had 1 or 2 people cheering. We were going to lose anyway. No, your fans and bad support.
Right.
But it improved the quality of play. Right, the more people were there. The other thing is that not only we need to get on board, but we need to make sure people are prepared and understand the game.
The game, yeah, that's the main thing. I mean, we've throughout the decades we've had some incredible results. We've lost just as badly as we've won. But I mean, it's always been. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Jamaica, going to high school in Jamaica, and the Jamaicans especially. Represented Cayman a number of times in the Shell Cup. We've gone to the National Stadium and played. And I remember in the 1998 Shell Cup, Jamaica had just come back from the World Cup, and we had to play Jamaica in the first game. And Jamaica was abysmal. They were fooling around, and the Jamaican fans actually started cheering for us. Because they know the game. They understand the game. When they see good football, they cheer for it. Doesn't matter who you are or where you're from.
That's the true fan, huh?
As soon as Jamaica scored on us, it turned. It was like, Jamaica, but that's the thing, and that's what we need to get here. We need to get our supporters truly understanding the game, because if we lose, they're quick to say, oh boy, they're terrible, the coaches, why they don't make this up, these are the things. But you got to understand that, to eventually win, we have to lose. So we want people out there to cheer on the kids. If you don't even understand the game, cheer on the players if they do something.
But wasn't there a game prior to that? Was it 94? Was it the Shell Cup, the Queen visit? We had a victory.
Right.
You remember that one?
Yeah, a lot of my players on that day said, why do I bring this up all the time? But, as I said, we beat Jamaica in 1994, the first time we ever did it. And the Ed Bush field was packed. I mean, the flag was everywhere. Christopher and David White were running up and down the stands with the... They
actually sung the West Bears that day, I remember.
Yeah. But that's the kind of atmosphere that, of course we beat Jamaica, so that helped a lot. But afterwards it was like something had gone off. Every time we played football, it was like people out to cheer us on. And of course, we've, over the last few or so years, we've gone through a really bad patch because of, we won't go into that side of things. But, now we're trying to rebuild it. Now we're trying to get it back to that level where we have people of all ages, everybody coming out and just cheering on the Cayman Islands. And it's not just in football, Dwayne. It's track and field. It's golf, it's squash, it's basketball. All these things we have to...
Look at the swimming program. The same thing,
Of course. And most of those things... When they go overseas, the parents travel with them. So that's the kind of support. But, we need to get it here where we have any national team performing, any sport, or not even sport, arts, culture, everything like that. Anything that Cayman is performing in, we need to get out there to support.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted thing, and I think part of it is that we need to develop national pride. I want to reference the 94, not because of the victory, but because of what the victory did for a short time. Not unlike what we saw immediately following Ivan. An appreciation for the people and the country, a desire, but also a recognition that we need to work together, and that, some of us will quickly go back to, Latin, e pluribus unum. That's where we need to be. And we're not there. I reference that to say that in this upcoming tournament, like in any of the other tournaments, for football in particular, if we can start with the youth and develop them, if we as the players, the coaches, the supporters, the spectators, the parents are genuine in our approach and in our commitment, I look at people like you, for instance, and I don't mean to keep any more on your shoulders, but if we follow that sort of acumen, that sort of tenacity, but also integrity, we can see success. And our failure to hold our preachers, our politicians, and our principals accountable, we do the same with our parents and our pupils. Responsible, accountable.
Right. I mean, a lot of course, everybody watches football on TV. They just watch the World Cup during summer. But I think a lot of people, especially the kids involved who play, don't understand the commitment that goes into it. A Ronaldo or a Messi, those are the guys that go to practice every day and they stay 3 hours after practice, after everybody is gone, to work on their free kicks, to work on this, to work on this. People think it comes naturally. There's a certain level or percentage of talent that comes with you, but those guys who, you go back in history, Pele's and Ronaldo's and Bobby Moore's, of the world, these guys, talented to, so much talent, but the amount of work, they didn't just go on the field and say, oh, I'm that great, I'm going to do it. Maradona, those guys worked on every facet of their game to be where they're at. And I think this is what our kids need to realize, that, if you have practice at 6 o'clock in the morning at the beach, there's a reason for doing it. Oh, no, coach, I can't make it till 7. I can't make it till 7:30. It's like, well, you don't, from that comment, you already don't have the dedication and commitment that we're looking at. Now, I certainly understand there's a lot of things that go on. When you're dealing with kids, there's parents and there's rides and stuff. But, when we were young, we rode bicycles to practice in school,
but we didn't have pit bulls chasing us either.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
or idiot drivers trying to mow you down.
Right. But as you say, it's as we talked about too. It's the time management. All this kind of stuff benefits you when you go on in life. When you go to college, if you don't want to show up for practice, if you're on the team, if you're on a scholarship and you're on a football team or any track team or any team, any sporting team in college, and you say, practice is at 6, I can't bother to go today. I'm going tomorrow. It's like, that's it. Your scholarship is gone. So if the coach says you got to come to practice at 4 o'clock, you come to practice, you be there at 3:45
at least,
and this sets a good precedent for not only your academic life but your professional life also.
Well, I appreciate that, and there are times when I think we fail to have that meaningful conversation with our people. We fail to acknowledge it with ourselves, and whenever we do, people point fingers. Oh, he's been vitriolic, or he's castigating. But sometimes, if you're not willing to look at the man in the mirror and understand that person looking back at you is the person that you need to hold responsible, because that person is the one that's accountable for what that person does.
Of
right?
course.
We don't do that. We make excuses. There are many, many reasons why I guess we don't have the successes, but we can see the promise and the potential. After the break, Mr. Murray, tell us a bit more about the game.
Okay.
Always enjoy, I tell you, talking to you about football makes me believe one day that I might be young again and can play. I don't know. We'll see. I take a few more minutes of Mr. Murray's time.
Only disadvantage of those days, we didn't have video recorders then, those when we played, right?
So one of the advantages, you mean?
I don't know. You're saying you may have time left, I don't know.
We'll see.
I'd have some secret file away,
I remember some years ago, Gavin Turner, the PE teacher, had the English recording tape was different, right, from the one that we would get here.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a game that he had showed a little clip of. And I remember that day, except I don't remember what happened on the field. I remember Mr. Dutton not letting me out of class because I had a test. Before the test started, I had finished. And he just held me there. I felt like, because, his team was on and against my team, and I had to get out there to play. Well, mightn't have been what happened, but that was my recollection.
Right, that's how you like to remember
it.
Yeah,
it was an accounting class, and it was easy, and it didn't take long, then the test was finished, but I had to stay there for a certain time. He left me out just at the last minute. And I ran on. I had to wait to get onto the team. Mr. Turner wouldn't stop her. Got on as a free kick, hit the ball to Perry. Perry hit it back to me and scored. It was like, when you're watching football and that game on TV that made for television, that's what it was like, right? So he had that little clip and he gave me the story, and I thought, wow, whether it's true or not, that's the latest I can remember.
That's what you pass down to your kids and your grandkids.
That's right. Exaggerate a little bit, maybe, but that's how it went.
That's what happens over the years.
There you go. You add to it, man. Well, we got one final short break for this segment with Mr. Murray. We'll come back and tell you more about the upcoming CFU Under 14 Boys Tournament this weekend at the Bush. 1 o'clock. Mario Rankin might be able to, find his way to the studio. And after that, maybe I still have a job, but we'll see. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Save 50% off a complete pair of glasses with any student eye exam. From now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook. Located in the Caymanian Village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. And thanks for allowing us the opportunity. Certainly, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to sit here and facilitate as host of Talk Today. It's truly is an honor as I be able to welcome guests like Mr. Neil Murray. Neil, there's only probably a few years difference between us, like maybe months, maybe. Some would say, no, I think Neil younger than you. No, but it's always a pleasure. And I say this hopefully not to embarrass you, but if we as a society will be able to continue to invest in our families and in our children, we'll see the dividends every day. and for all days to come.
Mm-hmm.
And in football, I've seen it in a couple of the sports. Primarily, I think to a great extent in basketball with some of the coaches. The discipline, the respect, the decorum and deportment of some of the players. And there are times when some don't necessarily live up to the expectation. I think they pull aside and say, hey, we need you. But it's us as the adults, the coaches, the parents, who need to set that example. And you set an incredible example. So, thanks very much, man.
Well, I appreciate it, Dwayne. I mean, the main thing, too, that the players have to understand that this is a national team. This is you representing the Cayman Islands. What you do in the airports, what you do on the fields, there's somebody watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays with social media, the dangers of social media is you do something silly, somebody gets it on video, and boom, it's worldwide. But you're wearing that CIFA crest, or you're wearing that Cayman Islands in the back of your tracksuit. So this in itself starts a domino effect. When we played, I wouldn't say fortunately, but when we played, it was still photography. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe somebody had a video camera, but we learned when we went on trips. Some of the places we went to were abysmal. Some of the places, the hotels they put you at and say, hey, this you represent the Cayman Islands. We can't be, criticizing. We just have to do what we have to do. This is not going to change the way we play on the field.
Yeah.
So these are the other things too with the national program aspect of it is that, what you wear on your jersey or the back of your tracksuit and stuff represents something. You're representing the Cayman Islands, the 3 islands, the over 55,000 people. You're representing the Cayman Islands, so there has to be a degree of pride. If it's not for you, that's fine. You just say I can't do it, and there'll be no laws. There's not going to be any circumstances from that. So this is another asset, another facet of it. We just want to get that pride instilled and
well, I always believe, man, that the adult is the one that needs to set the tone and the example. And
right.
As much as we may want, I say this, deliberately chastise and discipline the child, we're failing to do the same with the adult.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Murray, Ms. Susan Sears, we have a call online. We're speaking to Neil Murray. We're talking about on the 14 CFU tournament this weekend. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, host.
Yeah, good afternoon, my friend.
Mr. Murray, really would like to commend you on your lifelong effort to enabling Cayman football to reach its heights. We've had our challenges, but it is people like yourself that have been able to enable it to be consistent. And where we are now, we have so much talent that has so much promise that there is that extra push that we need to go up to become the champagne bubbles of the Caribbean. We do have the talent. It is unreservedly so. We've had our obstacles, but we're looking beyond that now. All your efforts have not gone in vain, I can assure you. And your commitment is an example to next generation coaches and leaders, but also is an example to the resilience that is very much embedded in our community on a whole. Our youngsters' performance recently is very much attributed in part to the noble efforts of yourself. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of sacrifice that people don't very much reconcile with the family time, the commitment to having to find funding, which is a challenge in the environment that we live in, and to keep youngsters motivated and to challenge parents who can contribute to their youngsters. It's an ongoing challenge. I would love for us to be able to have a presence at Island Games. Whenever we have Island Games and there's football, Cayman is absent, and part of it is because of cost, because there's a large group of people that have to travel to Europe, which can be quite an expense. But I can assure you, the day that we appear on the scene of football in Europe at Island Games, we will leave our mark, and it will be another movement up in the world of football, because Island Games is a scenario where European coaches are looking for talent and future talent, and we have so much of it here that needs to be exposed at that level. So, Mr. Murray, thank you so much for your service. Your service is a national one. In fact, I should thank your entire family because your wife is a football widow, and your children also experience the absence. But it is necessary national commitment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, well, just a few comments on the Island game side of things, and we actually have on a few occasions for the last 2 Island games. Actually, we've actually tried to get our under-20 national team. Of course, they were younger then. I wouldn't say a problem with football, but the obstacle that we found was, and it's something that we've talked about for quite a few years with the different executives. It was even something when we played. It was an opportunity to the football side of things. We have to be very quick with it because it fills up really quickly. We spoke to the actual organizers of the Island Games, the international organizers, and they said, well, football fills up really quickly. And in some instances, with certain countries, the pool is so small that they have to keep it restricted to certain number of teams. As the caller said, it's quite an expense for some countries to travel, but that is one of the things that we're looking at, and it would certainly bring great benefit to our youth national program, especially our under 17 or under 20s, to actually participate in an Island game. So that is something that we actually have on the books to work with in more depth for the next one or maybe the next one after that. But definitely that was something that we did locate and look at as being an opportunity for our national teams to perform on that stage.
All right. Well, this is where we work towards, once we identify things that are of significant positive benefit. But this weekend, we can play some, games on Island now.
No, definitely. This is what makes the Cayman Islands. There's quite a few countries who always want to come here because of the, the accommodations are great, the fields are good, and they always enjoy coming here for different reasons. But Cuba and Bermuda have been here before to play, and they've always become kind of our rivals, so to speak, especially Cuba, which is close. They've been to a number of the tournaments. I think the under-15 team actually participated in the Cayman Airways tournament in May and came runners-up to DC United. So it's going to be tough, but again, we need to open our kids or our players to the good teams, the teams that more than likely will dominate games, but we need to learn how to play against teams like that, and that's the only way we're going to get better. So this tournament this week is going to be a benefit for all the players that play and for the coaches too, to get that experience of coaching at the level and coaching against these really good teams.
There you go. So this coming weekend, start on Saturday?
Saturday, 6 o'clock, 7:45 at the Ed Bush, and we have 2 games on Monday and 2 games on Wednesday, all at the Ed Bush Field in West Bay. Tickets are $5 per night, which isn't a lot. Under 10 are free, and all tickets can be purchased at the gates.
All right. Thank you very much. And anytime that we can help to promote, support, and uplift our youth, let us know, man.
No, I thank you very much. I know you interview quite a lot of important people on this show, and
like
we're just glad to get our little niche. And there's a lot of important things that are discussed on this show, definitely, and other shows. But we certainly appreciate the time to get our little piece in about the football and the game that.
You're most welcome, man. It's an honor, and truly, it is an honor for me. I believe in developing and trying to support and nurture our youth. I make no bones about holding people accountable. Some people don't like that, but that's life, You got to be responsible. You got to be held accountable.
No problem. Well, thank you very much, Dwayne, for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And have a wonderful, productive, safe, enjoyable week.
All right, you too.
To our listeners, let's pause. Miss Susan will read the news for you. No, she's not going to read it. She's going to facilitate it. 1 o'clock. When we come back, join us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
There's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
There's
There's a slight dip in gas prices this past week. According to the overall retail network weekly analysis done by the Utility and Competition Regulation Office, regular gasoline across all three islands is $4.74, which is back up a penny since the last check on August 4th. Premium gasoline is holding steady at $4.96, while diesel prices are still $4.55 a gallon. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Moves to ease Turkey's economic woes have failed to stop market turmoil as the country's row with the U.S. deepens. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said today that the U.S. was seeking to stab it in the back. The U.S. last week imposed sanctions on Turkey over its refusal to extradite a U.S. preacher imprisoned in the country. The sanctions caused market turmoil, which the central bank attempted but failed to soothe with a series of market-boosting measures. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is to visit the North Korean capital Pyongyang next month to meet the North's leader Kim Jong-un. It will be the first time in more than a decade that a South Korean leader has visited Pyongyang, and it comes after cultural and exporting exchanges. Mr. Moon came twice this year for summits. And Aretha Franklin is seriously ill. That's according to a person close to the veteran soul singer. The source, who spoke on condition of anonymity, confirmed that Franklin was gravely unwell. The 76-year-old cancelled planned concerts earlier this year due to health concerns and was ordered by doctors to rest for 2 months. Last year, Franklin indicated her plans to retire from touring following the release of a new album. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Did you know that recycling collection containers are located island-wide in Grand Cayman? The Department of Environmental Health program is an integral part of DEH's waste management responsibility in the Cayman Islands. Start your recycling program at home today. Put your cardboard items in appropriate DEH recycling containers at all Foster's supermarkets, Kirk Market, or Hurley's Grand Harbor. Help keep Cayman clean. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about recycling, go to www.deh.gov.ky.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken chair.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken chair.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me?
The new chicken share from KFC. Just $12 each. And it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. In the studio, good company of Mario Rankin. Mario, thank you for coming on board and something that I want to share with you. Today's on a Monday. For some reason, I guess sometimes some of us, because of what we do, when Thursday ends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we never really get a transition between, well, it's a weekend and a week beginning. That's kind of been how my day has been thus far, right? Earlier today, I had a chance to chat with a couple of people. And it was interesting. Now, I said to them that I want to share some of the things, and they said, well, that's kind of what we tell you. Well, okay, then I prefer you come in and share yourself. In that, 2 aspects, specifically and exclusively from the port, right? Just 2 aspects. So a small group of individuals who were very much in favor of the port, Right? Very much, my interpretation, still in favor of a port, but in recent times have shared they're not so sure that this is the right time and the right place and the like. But what I found from them was, one, they were willing to sort of bounce ideas off and share their thoughts. A second group specifically opposed to the port. Now, these are not people that I've heard publicly make any sort of comments for or against. Right. And I asked them, I said, why share this? Why now and why with me? And they were saying, and the reason I say this to Neil in his sort of closing, just say, a lot of this important topics are discussed on the talk shows, this one in particular,
right?
There's so much that our society has taken for granted. The ability to have a forum like this, for instance. Certainly they avail themselves of it with Mr. O.C. and now with Donna, she fills in for the record in the morning. To not just complain, but to comment and to be able to hopefully continue to be constructive in putting things in the public domain. Maybe the policymakers and other pundits will see the merit in it, as our people will move forward so that we can weigh the pros and the cons, look at the costs and the benefits. But I said to someone in this discussion, I said, well, let me reference one individual, and I referenced your name. One of the first times I've actually done sort of that in a context like that, pull somebody out without necessarily consent, right? And thankfully, all of them said, yeah, here's a young fella who says publicly, what he's thinking, how he feels, in a way that engenders discussion, gets people to think. Whether they like what's being heard, they commend that you had the courage and the tenacity. We need to get more people like that, Mario. And hopefully today we'll be able to do that.
Well, I certainly hope so, because obviously, we're trying to enact a people's referendum to have that very say that you're talking about in terms of whether we should or should not have a port. And I think it's important that the people have an opportunity to exercise that right of referendum, because obviously they're not building a port in an individual's backyard. They're building it in everybody's backyard, and everybody has to deal with it one way or the other, whether it may be by the environmental aspect or financial and all the other things and the operation and stuff. So I think it's important that when the government take the initiative, and I do understand what duly elected mean, and I think we had this discourse last week when we talked about duly elected, and we knew that this government is somewhat patched up and put together. So they weren't duly elected by the consensus of the people, by way of voters. So so we can cross that hurdle. The reality is that we don't want to go to referendum for every single thing. We just want to make sure that we have that right of referendum when we, the people, feel like the government is not operating in the best interest of the people. So that way, that whatever they do, which is going to be a representative, or is going to be representative of the people, that it's exactly what we feel and we think it should be the best thing moving forward. So the port being one of those very complicated and complex things that we've seen a lot of people, despite fear of victimization, has come out and spoken publicly about it. And I think that in itself speaks volume, that, the level of importance this has created. The very same thing that we've been trying to do is awareness and get people to get involved and have these discussions. So, I just think that, I just read, if you look at the front page of the paper right now in the bottom right corner, it talks about government surplus and the reasons for these extra surpluses and stuff. And you see in there where it shows where you have, increase in stayover passengers, increase on cruise passengers, and different other entities that generated extra cash. So we have to stick a pin and take a pause and say, well, look, and we know that it's because of some of the natural disasters that happen in the Eastern Caribbean, where a lot of the tourist traffic that would normally go to some of those that would be shared with those other islands are now being pointed in our direction and whatnot. And we understand that, but this is a good opportunity for us to somewhat capitalize on trying to maintain that level in terms of creating a better experience for those individuals who choose to come here, versus not being able to go somewhere else. Also, it gives us a good opportunity to look at our infrastructure and how we're coping with that level of the influx of certain numbers within the tourism industry. And you and I both know that prior to this point, things were uncomfortable in the central Georgetown area and the Hawkesbury Bay area, where we would have certain amount of ships that were diverted from other ports due to bad weather or whatever. We would see where, we just can't accommodate, and our infrastructure is not adequate enough in order to deal with it. So I think that on one hand, obviously we have the environmental aspects that I think every Caymanian should be concerned about, not just, people who are advocates for environment. I think everybody is mainly concerned about what effects that a cruise berthing would have on the environment. Secondly,
very good.
And secondly, the cost and whether we can get value for money. And, I try not to sit on the sidelines and allow certain things to happen without having, open debate and dialogue and platforms like this in order to create awareness and bring people together and for a better understanding as to what it is that the government or enterprise or private entity try to implement within the landscape of the Cayman Islands. So, it's unfortunate that we've gotten to a point where we have to exercise the rights of referendum. I think that if the government was operating in the best interest of the Cayman Islands and its people, because the Cayman Islands in itself is an entity that we should be preserving and protecting and ensuring that it's as pristine as it possibly can be moving forward. And then you have to take in consideration the people who occupy this island and their responsibility collectively on what it is to preserve what we have. So I think that it needs to be a balance struck when it comes to what behavior we display when it comes to implementing any development that may hinder or destroy or create issues, with the environment. Certainly, no one can run away from the financial aspect of these things, because normally we emphasize the dollars and cents far more than we do the important issues, like the environment. And we could talk for a million years about why or why we shouldn't or why we should. The reality is that we all have to share the same facts. No matter what our opinions are, no matter what the experts say, the facts are the facts. And I think that the government has to take in consideration what the people of this country is thinking about, what they're concerned about, and stop being dismissive of individuals simply because you have perceived who that person is based on some emotional feeling you may have against them because of who they are. So,
well, as you're joining us, this is Mario Rankin sitting with us, and hopefully people start to appreciate that in life we need sometimes for someone to say something for us to be given the courage to join in, or for us to wait a minute. No, people actually saying that so that we can say a counter view. But other times it's for people to even be able to spark a comment. I commend you for doing that. As a fellow earlier was sharing, that's part of what is indicative of a healthy society, the willingness for people to speak for. Now, with the port in particular, something you shared, something that the two little groups this morning sort of relayed, whether they're for or against, was the idea that projects like this, they talked about the port and they referenced a couple of their projects. One was the dump. I think I heard you say just now, this is in someone's backyard. This is a national project. Yeah. It isn't going to be something that is only in one district. It's going to be national.
Well, when you mentioned the dump, again, the importance of a clean environment is essential to the survival of the people and the nearby surroundings and the greater surroundings. We don't have the luxury of land mass, so we can drive 600 miles to the north, which is not downwind of the dump. That we don't have that luxury. And I just want to give a quick scenario as to how important the environment is and how exposed we are to issues like the dump. The 17 generators that are pumping carbon, in the air constantly. The reality is that there are very simple solutions to these huge issues in our country. But for whatever reason, we have allowed politicians to use these issues as political instruments to secure their political sovereignty. And it's unfortunate because the individuals who are suffering are the individuals who don't have the resources to, one, go somewhere else, two, make enough noise in order to be heard, or 3, just totally disregarded altogether. So, I think it's important that we use these platforms and we look at the landfill and we look at the issues that it have, and yet no one seems to feel as if it should be priority. It just amazes me on how many processes has taken place, how many ideas and how many RFPs and tenders and all of the talk about, how we could fix or how we should do this and who should be doing it and who shouldn't be doing it. It's very unfortunate because in the meantime, there is a consequence of not getting it done. There's no secret that Cayman has the highest cancer rate per capita in the world. No secret.
No, Mario, go on. As I listen, right, this idea of a referendum, I haven't heard many people who have said, no, we shouldn't. The government is there, let the government go.
Right.
Just focusing on just the two groups this morning, partly because of sort of the nature of the people, the perspective that one is sort of was more for it, but is thinking, well, we move forward, but we need a referendum. Then the second one is, no, we're definitely against it, but we need a referendum. So both of those groups are thinking this is something the country as a whole needs to weigh in.
Well, I totally agree, and I think that there is a divide, right? Mm-hmm. In some regards, I think that those who are for the reason of not needing or wanting the port are greater than those who are for the referendum so that they can vote for. Mm-hmm. That's my personal opinion, but I think that it's important that the people have an opportunity to exercise that constitutional right of referendum. And when we look at the issue with the port, and if it was going to accomplish all of the things that the government said it was going to accomplish at the cost that they say it was going to cost, and that all was going to be okay with the environment based on whatever their environmental impact study says, I think that we would have, obviously there's no transparency in what has taken place with all the negotiations and what's taking place. That's one of the big issues that we're having right now. And even more so, the necessity of having to put a cruise berth in simply because we want to say we can be more competitive within the region. First of all, there's only one Cayman Islands, okay? And for us to go and suggest that we should become like all other Caribbean islands simply because we want to maintain a marketplace in the cruise tourism, I think that's very gullible and naive and not thought through, because we can look at certain examples where stay-over tourism, which is the most important tourism, has shunned away against islands who have geared their tourism product towards cruise tourism. We look at Santo Domingo, 7-8 hotels closed down simply because they emphasize all of their efforts and financing towards cruise berthing, that it became a product that stay-over people didn't want to be involved with, so they just didn't go. So numbers went down, hotels couldn't sustain, so they had to close. Now, there are many issues where, they try to tell us, oh, well, this is why we're doing it, and these are the reasons, and that the cost and all these other things. And what's confusing is that, we can't manage the funds that we're making right now off of cruise tourism, right? We're doing a poor job on the management of those funds right now in terms of appropriations and allocations and whatnot. And now you want us to believe that you're going to fix the problem by increasing that number, and then the payoff of it is that we're gonna have more revenue, and we're gonna have more jobs, and we're gonna do all these different things that they claim is going to be a benefit to the Cayman Islands and all these people, which we clearly see that what they do now with the annual budget. I look at the newspaper with 201 surplus operating budget, and $15 million of that came from land sales. So it goes back to what I was saying in last year, that nobody should be selling real estate in this country if you're not Caymanian. That $15 million could have been spread amongst Caymanians, all right, as opposed to all those foreigners who enjoying the cocktail parties at the end of the year at the the real estate award ceremony. Anyway, I think that the price that we're going to pay, because when they try to weigh in and say, oh, well, these are the things that we're going to generate if we do a cruise berthing, but the price that we're paying from a historical standpoint, from from an environmental standpoint is far greater than what we're going to receive from the increased number of passengers, infrastructurally and environmentally. And I think that it's a very reasonable argument for all of the groups who are in place. You know, the Save Cayman group, the group that we have on our side, where we're going to combine efforts in order to get this referendum to where it need to be. We need 5,200 and some odd votes, signatures in order to accomplish this goal. We have a legal attorney who is assisting us with putting together a proper legal draft and what it should say in the wording, in that way that when we get these signatures and we present that to the government, that it in no way or form could be, you know, diverted or you know, sidestepped. And then we're going to have that referendum. And I would say this to the government, and obviously out of the interest of the Cayman Islands, is that I would suggest that they don't proceed with signing the contracts until they hear the outcome of this referendum.
To that, though, if a government, you use the phrase duly elected, so we have a government and they decide they're going to move forward. In this case, with the port project, they're going to move forward where it's at. They sign the contract now. A referendum is initiated. So there's a process, and it takes a while. Mm-hmm. And in a year or two down the road, it unfolds, and it's overwhelming. Just as an example, right, against the decision to move forward the port. What then? It's
the government's constitutional responsibility. It's their constitutional responsibility to take the consideration of the consensus into consideration before what their duly elected status is. Because remember, they can say we're duly elected and we're going to do this regardless. But there's also the responsibility of a referendum that is duly enacted under the proper and legal basis that they have to abide by. So I don't have any fear. I mean, we've seen the government do things back ways. We've seen that many times, and we've paid the price. But I think, you know, a lot of people try to discredit this referendum about the cost and who's going to pay for it. Listen, the cost of this referendum is going to be small in comparison to what we're gonna have if we have a disaster in Georgetown.
Yeah, I hear you, but again, just ask if the government moves forward in short order, right, with the port project, they put out the tender.
Then the next referendum will be a no confident vote, and then have them removed, because that's also in the Constitution.
All right, let's look at that as an example. There's boardwalk in South Sound. How many people do you think in our country knew about this project before it started?
Well, I honestly can't, you know, guess a number on how many people knew, but I can certainly say that if anybody in cabinet who agreed or signed on to and looked at the numbers and analyzed the numbers and agreed that 1.3 million CI dollars was the magic number to build that boardwalk that exists now, it's there, then I would have to safely say that they're not in the best interest of the Cayman Islands or its people or what we represent. Because if I was a member of cabinet and somebody brought that to me, first of all, I was going to ask the question, why we need the boardwalk?
Okay.
That would have been the first question. Mm-hmm. And if somebody couldn't give me an adequate answer, then it wouldn't have had my vote. But again, under the Constitution, as a cabinet member, you have to vote in favor of your government, of your ministers, whether you disagree or not. That's the sad part. So there are a lot of technical issues in here that a lot of people are not taking into consideration. But I agree with what you're saying, and I understand. No, let me take that back. I don't agree with what you were saying in terms of because they were duly elected, then we should accept it, whether it's something we want or not.
Let me be specific.
Yeah.
Let's use the boardwalk as an example, right? And only because it's now after the fact, and only because I've had an opportunity. This is not exhaustive by any means, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I try to put a percentage on it because it's even less than 5%. If I look at the numbers, so it's very probably not even much more than 1%. But of all the people thus far, and it's been a significant number, double-digit numbers, so to speak. So by no means it's not indicative of the wider populace. of all those people who now seen the boardwalk, yeah, it's a nice boardwalk, but have heard about the cost, seen what it is, and hearing and insinuating what it might be and the like. All of those have said, but I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this, that it was going to be like this. I didn't think it was going to cost this amount. All these things have all weighed in now that if they could have and they knew beforehand, they would have opposed it. But the fact that it is already built, the money is spent, it's there, well, a little bit too late. So again, with the port, like the boardwalk, if it moves forward, what can you do?
Well, there was a huge difference in the boardwalk and the port, and that difference is that we've been aware of the plans of the government to move forward with the cruise berthing long before they've put in the peg in the ground.
Okay,
and the next difference is that the cruise berthing isn't there.
Okay,
and they're not there yet, and I think that there is a loud, clear consensus and a blatantly obvious interest from the public and concerns from the public as to why we need it and that we don't need it in most cases. So for the government to blatantly disregard those cries from the very same people that they depend on every election, right? Then it would be on their conscience, and it would be their issue, and it would be their mistake. Now back to the boardwalk, and I just want to give a quick example. Let's say that boardwalk took 4,000, let's just say 10,000 yards of concrete. All right. And let's just say concrete was at the high end at $500 a yard. Okay. And the steel work, let's throw $200,000 in there. And I'm being extremely generous. The cost of that boardwalk and labor, which we know that they're not paying the people I saw working on it, no pile of money. Now, I saw a lot of the and I'll just call it what it is because, I don't hold back. I saw a lot of the white foreman and supervisors standing over the laborers. I saw that. I saw plenty of that. But let's just say, at the numbers I just gave hypothetically, that boardwalk would only cost $500,000. So, again, we have to have, and as small as that project is, 1.3 may not be a lot to some people within the government realms, simply because they're so used to wasting millions and millions of dollars. But that's a whole lot of money. Let's think about this for a second. The government could have built 13 1,100 square foot houses with $1.3 million at $100,000 a piece. You understand me? 13. You think about that. With windows, doors, roofs, tiles, everything. You understand what I'm saying? Provided that the land was crown.
Right.
So that's those are the things that we have to look at when we starting to compare apples to apples.
All right. Let's go to the phones, Mr. Rankin, and join our caller. Hey, good afternoon. We welcome you on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Very well. How about yourself?
Good afternoon.
All right. I think you all got a very important topic against this poor cruise port. But I want to comment on one proposal that Dwayne made to Mario just a few minutes ago regarding the boardwalk and South Sound, and if the port should continue, and if the government should continue about the building of the berthing facility in Georgetown. And Mario made a comment that that we will go to, if they go ahead, he will then call a no confidence motion on them. Get a vote and call a no confidence, something to that scenario.
Yes, ma'am.
But in my opinion, this is just my opinion now, that Dwayne was trying to say then we need to start now with this boardwalk. We should call no confidence motion on them from now, because we can see that we don't have no confidence in them as it is. Because if they told us what cost this for the boardwalk, or they didn't give the price, now it's overpriced, we have lost confidence in not only that project, but for a lot more. And this is plain to show that they can do what they want to do. And we should call no confidence starting now and get some votes going and get that, because they should be out now, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, just look at the airport.
Yeah, I would just tell you, look at the airport for one. That's another one. Look, they told us it would cost this. Now it's cost us way more. I mean, what have they put on more? What have they put on more that made the price run up that much? Is it because we put the right people that wanted more money in the place, or they didn't tell us from the beginning they was going to cost us? I mean, are they telling us the truth? If we don't have no confidence in them giving us the truth for the boardwalk or the truth for the airport, what makes you think that when we get to the birthing facility, they gave you true figure on that one? That could be a big dishonest one too.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And
all right. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rankin.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with the caller, and I think that, it's unfortunate that we'd have to be even considering the idea of having a referendum for no confidence, simply because we would like to believe that our duly elected government would be operating in the best interest of the small people who they have to hand out turkeys to every 4 years. You know what's really sad? I drove across Lion Center this morning on the way down, and I saw the amount of people that signed up for this 2-week work program. And you know what dawned on me when I drove across there, as I saw some of the people coming out of the gates with the envelope, the manila envelope. I don't know what was in it. Maybe it was the agreement or whatever. And a lot of the faces were familiar. I mean, to people that I know personally. And you know what dawned on me that very moment is that those are the very same people that are being marginalized in this country and being being singled out and stereotyped and being ostracized and disregarded simply because of the lineage or who they are, or who they family to, and what their background is, and what area the Cayman they grew up in. And it's very unfortunate, because I've had people say to my face that, "Oh, you the old Walker's Road boy that grew up on Walker's Road," and for that reason alone, they had already placed me in a category where they wouldn't give me the time of day to demonstrate whether I could be productive in their institution or not, just for where I grew up. And it dawned on me, I said, wow, look at all these Caymanian people who are being marginalized, and they say that we're lazy, but we that lazy that we show up for 2 weeks worth of work, and that we're there in mass numbers. We're not lazy. That's no longer, and they can't tell me nothing about pride. They can't tell me nothing about pride now, because if those numbers that I saw there is what represents our unemployed, then pride ain't got nothing to do with it. You understand me? Because those people are there and they are willing. The problem is that they look like the wrong people in the eyes of those who control the meaningful jobs in this country. And that's the problem. So the government really wants to do something. They need to start fixing the institution who ostracize and marginalize and victimize Caymanians that are under that building today. That's what I saw today, in my opinion. But the reality is that the politicians never do anything about that, because they feel like they're doing a good job. They're already sitting back tapping themselves on the shoulder because they pull off this project twice in 1 year. And it's a crying shame, Sterling. It is a crying shame that this is the process. Which other jurisdiction that got $2.7 billion GDP with 50,000 people got to have 2 weeks cleanup program to pay the unemployed? Or they got to have children stand up in front of grocery stores asking for a sponsorship? Or we got to have Feed Our Future and all these other charities giving money for? I mean, which other country that makes that kind of money per capita with that amount of people that has to do that? No other country. You look at Singapore and Dubai and all these countries. They take whatever the country distribute as a resource and they distribute it amongst them their citizens. And that's how it should be here. And we have a clear example worldwide on how this thing should be done. But we have weak, narrow-minded politicians who only seek to protect their existing status quo and don't want to spread the wealth in this country. And hence the reason why we're having a social unrest right now, and we're having the rise in crime amongst our young people. And that's the reality. We need to fix this problem.
All right. We're going to pause and take a short break. We invite you to be a part of our discussion, 949-8037, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Of course, you can call us toll free at 1-800-534-8255. When we come back, continue the company and a good conversation with Mario Rankin. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all of that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Brandsource Home Gallery has been appointed the exclusive Cayman supplier for Duravit bathroom products. Duravit is the leading international manufacturer of bathroom ceramics, tubs and showers, recognized around the world for beautiful, functional products. Winner of top industry awards, Duravit collaborates with leading European designers to provide the most elegant and innovative bath products. If you're ready to bring style, comfort and innovation to your bathroom, visit Brandsource Home Gallery to see the new Duravit showroom and meet the in-house bath designer. Whether you're planning a functional family bathroom or a personal spa retreat, browse the Duravit collection and be inspired. Brandsource Home Gallery, delivering a new standard in custom designed bathrooms. Brandsource Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Pet owners are responsible for the protection of their pets during disaster events. If you plan to evacuate, plan for your pet as well, because they are not allowed in public emergency shelters. If you go to friends or relatives, and if it's okay to take your pets, also take your pet survival kit as well. Your kit should include proper ID, collar and tag, carrier or cage, leash, at least 2 weeks supply of moist pet food to preserve water or food bowls, any necessary medications, and plenty of newspaper for sanitary purposes and disinfectant. After the disaster, be careful in allowing your pets outside. Downed power lines, damaged buildings, and other animals and insects brought with the disaster could also present real dangers to your pet. Also, take care not to allow your pet to consume food or water which may have become contaminated.
This is brought to you by the Barbados Government Information Service and Breeze 105.3.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It's open line. We're very glad for the company of our citizens who can share with us. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Mario Rankin sits with us, helping to facilitate our discussion. A couple of WhatsApps to share, Mario, but a caller in the queue. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hi, good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Okay, and good afternoon, Mr. Rankin, as well.
Afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Both of you guys are okay, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Thank God, and trust the same for you, yes.
That's right. Up here, getting a nice northeast wind, so nothing to complain about, really, weather-wise. But I don't want to distract Mr. Rankin from the subject he's talking about. But being concerned so much about the environment that we're living in, when we see what's happening here in the island, the enormous amount of construction that's going on. Every day you wake up, you see land being cleared, foundations being put up. Where is it going to stop? The reason why I'm saying this and pleading for this, I deal with the tourism product. I've been dealing with the tourists for the last probably 20 years, strongly. And they are concerned about what's happening to the island. Most politicians that I talk to seem to think that it's a good thing what's happening. It's an economic boom and things have never been better. What I see here, it might sound critical, but it's the truth. What we're going to have in the very near future to offer the visitors concrete and alcohol. Okay? Pavements, roads, buildings, and alcohol. Your natural environment, your natural attractions. Anybody is emphasizing to trying to get more natural attraction going into this island? No. Thank God we got a little Stingray City, a little turtle farm, Queen Elizabeth Botanic Park, and maybe 2 or 3 more. But when you look at this island as a whole and see the amount of land that's being cleared and buildings going up, you know what it reminds me of? Flagless Street in Miami downtown. Where you see chains and chains, dozens, probably hundreds of stores that's been closed because there's no business. Who wants to come into an environment that you have nothing but concrete buildings and alcohol? Every 50 yards there's somebody trying to sell you a beer or sell you something? If this is the only thing that we can decide to push the island forward, where is the politicians? You mean nobody's seeing what's happening to this island? That literally it's being destroyed? Guys, I could keep on going, but I think I've said a little.
Thank you.
Plenty of what I want to say. But I just hope that it will be taken in the context which I mean it to be. And I hope people like Mr. Rankin also will have some time to emphasize and elaborate a little bit about what I'm saying. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
And to you, sir. In little, sometimes there is much.
Well, I will certainly say this, and I will elaborate. And I think that our biggest issue is that, one, we haven't diversified our economy since the 1950s. More than tourism, and then we gradually moved into the financial sector, right? And then we got stuck on those 2 industries. And the reality is, and this is to his point, the reason why you see such a boom and all of these allowance of all of these developments and all these things, and why politicians think it's good, is because, again, we are a service-based society, and we generate money based on fees and services. So the more development, the more planning fees. Some more than others, because we know that the largest developer in Cayman history is exempt from planning fees. But again, why you see this level of construction and the total disregard for the moral, historical lens Cayman once was. And I'm not saying by any means that we shouldn't have development or we shouldn't do this and we shouldn't do these things. But it must be sustainable, and it must be a reflection of who we are moving forward. Right? But again, the reason why you see a lot of that's happening is because we depend on those fees that are generated. That makes up a big portion of our GDP. And it's only because we have failed at putting in proper instruments on the current pillars of our economy in order to extract money, in order to take care of some of the welfare and education and the health care and all these things. The problem is that we have the financial industry who collects 25% of $3 trillion annually that goes into the pocket of the senior and equity partners, and the government get only service fees from that industry. We get only service fees from the licenses and the work permit fees and what have you. The reality is that the government has been sitting on their hands from the inception of the financial industry, simply because the industry was designed and concocted by those who benefit the most from it. So certainly they're not going to recommend, well, why don't the government take 5% of our 25%, put it into a sovereignty where you can take care of education and healthcare and social issues and pay for a lot of the things that you now over-exaggerate the market on allowing work permits and allowing overdevelopment that's not sustainable, because you depend on those fees, because you have failed on generating money in any other way other than the way that has been presented to you by somebody who don't have the best interests of the island at heart. And that's the problem.
All right. Mario Rankin, we have a caller online. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I didn't want to interrupt the subject matter that you're doing now. It's a great topic, but I think it kind of dovetails into what I'm calling it about. Over the last few months, with all this talk about potential independence and all that kind of stuff, there's been a lot of chatter about modifying the Constitution, adding in various things, employing various things. But I think ultimately the only thing that's going to matter up front that we should do is we need some kind of proper recall statute. Because at this point, there's nothing you can do to a politician other than not vote for him for no matter what he does, right? So I'm no longer convinced that the government of the Cayman Islands, and I mean that as a legislative body, not simply as whoever's sitting in government now, works on behalf of the Caymanian people. It just does not appear so.
I agree.
The will of the people is willfully ignored. I mean, they just don't do anything. It's not like they had another priority or whatever. They just don't do anything. And we can't do a thing about it because of any population, there's only ever going to be a small percentage of it that seeks political office. And in our arena here, that means a very small pool of people. So it's either the guy you had before or the guy you had before him that you're ever going to be churning through. So
true.
There's nothing to be done. The ports, the development that you just talked about, none of that matters because the people of the Cayman Islands no longer matter in the equation. Like our neighbors to the north there in the United States, the only people that matter now are the donor class because they're paying for these people to be reelected. That's it. They don't really give a crap about anybody else. So that's kind of what I just called in to say. I didn't mean to
No.
track, but
excellent point.
Appreciate you sharing. I mean, this is what the program is about. This is why I always enjoy Mario, because you get people to think and talk and encourage to come out and share your thoughts. Anything else you want to leave with us?
No, that's just it. I mean, these are all great subjects, but I mean, ultimately we're going to turn to the government to fix them, but our government will never do what we want until we have recall statutes.
Recall. All right. No. Hey, thanks very much, man. And props to that, Mario. I'll certainly ask you if you want to comment. I'll read one of the WhatsApps because it ties in. There are a couple of things. Let's read this. Read in the order that they came in. All right. How about that?
Great.
Earlier, it says, could Mr. Rankin elaborate on what portion of the Constitution or other relevant law gives the people the ability to use referendums to issue votes of no confidence in the government? As far as I am aware, no national government would entrust that ability to its citizens, and have not come across any clause asserting that we have that right. Is this something that we are assuming we can do? As I actually read, that last caller says, a recall, the ability of the voting public to say, listen, in the government, in that politician, like we saw with Brown in California way back when, right?
Right. Well, one thing I would say to the WhatsApp message, and I'll say this very strongly: there is a referendum order in the Constitution that gives us the right to call a referendum for whatever issue we may find as a concern to the best interest of the people of the Cayman Island. And if our politicians are not in the best interest of the people of the Cayman Islands, I would venture to say that we would have a very strong argument if we got a petition with the valid number of individuals from registered voters, and that petition said, "Are you confident in your government? If not, please sign here." And I think if we took that referendum with those numbers, and if the numbers are far exceeding the required amount of 5,200, let's just say we got 9,000. You think if I sent that referendum with a petition that said we have no confidence in our government to the FCU, that the FCU going to turn a blind eye?
If I may ask.
Not when... No, I want you to ask that question, but
yeah.
Just for a second.
Yeah.
And if I take that and put that on an international, global... You think the UK is going to let the global world watch them not take into consideration by a referendum that is in our Constitution that the people of this island has an issue with our government? Trust me, there are many ways to get this thing done. The problem is that we need to have people who are willing. So when you have individuals, that's a very good point. And I'm glad that they asked it, because then we can have this level of conversation about it. So
if I may ask, just on that point, I wonder if you could share, and I certainly ask this of general public, what is our understanding of how a referendum is triggered? Share with me if you can. How does that unfold? We're seeing people talking about wanting a referendum. We're seeing a lot of petitions now.
Right.
One for the bank to remain Caymanian, a petition, but how is the referendum? Is it for the elected members of the Legislative Assembly to decide, directly the government to decide the wording of this petition for it to go to the House to be voted? How is it that you understand how the process works?
Well, how I understand the process work, and I think if Mr. Steve McField is listening, I would urge him to call in and give some clarity from a constitutional standpoint, who I believe is an expert in that field. But from what I gather, and like anything else, I am all ears if somebody has the correct. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you this, based on what I've read, that referendum reserves the right of the people to enact it based on registered voters voicing their dislike for an issue. And then a referendum can be enacted by the people once done by the proper legal channels.
And what I'm hearing you share,
regardless of what the issue is.
Right. And what I heard from our guests on Friday, they're saying that we're going to have a petition to see whether the people are in favor of it, with a view of trying to move forward a national referendum. So they go through the legal process, through the LA and so on. So we're talking about a petition. In this instance, let's say that the country felt, or as citizens in the country felt, you know what, we don't like the way the government is handling an issue, the government is handling the affairs. So we circulate a petition, would you like to see this government recall?
Well, I certainly believe that if the people demonstrated that democratic power, and if the Foreign Commonwealth Office took into consideration the consensus based on what the protocol is that they have to, I think that I personally, I think it would only be a proper process for the FCO to say, look, here's a petition, here's the concerns, it's legitimate. Now you guys need to go out and you need to address your constituents, and you need to address their concerns. Now if they failing that, I tell you right now, an unrest people is not happy. And failing that, we'd have to have a new election.
There are two things. There is a petition, and then there's a people initiative referendum. So the petition is that thing that you circulate amongst the people saying, we, and on the sign, and it's the word in a certain way, would like the government, or would like this, whatever that thing is. It could be on anything. We want to preserve this tree, we want to promote this park, we want to see, right? It's just that. It's just that thing asking the government.
What's the purpose of giving the power referendum if the referendum has limitations? You understand?
Right.
Because certainly if the consensus of the people has voiced their opinion on what the concern is, regardless of what it is, then it has to be taken into consideration under the Constitution. So what's the sense of giving us the power of referendum if you're going to limit it to certain things? Because then the referendum has no use for the consensus of the general public. And that's the reality. Now, again, I would urge Dr. McField to call in and share his opinion in terms of what the Constitution allows pertaining to referendum from a legal standpoint.
Right. Let me read, as we have the good company of Mario Rankin, and I really appreciate you sharing with us. So it's good day. I would like to agree with your guest. I let him know that I'm very happy to hear him talk about these things that are going on in our country. And I appreciate this person sharing.
I thank that person too.
Because I must say to you, just moving about, even the few times that I managed to check the mailbox when, it's still late a day, or in the supermarket, people comment, this caller or this guest, and your name comes up, and whether they agree with the particular sentiment or the topic at the time, what they all share is that it's encouraging to hear people publicly, say, this is me, this is what I think, this is my perspective. And it gets them thinking, but it also encourages them that, if we live in a democracy, we must have not just the freedom, but the courage to speak.
And the right. Without fear of victimization, and unfortunately we've had that shadow over us because of the small community that we are, because everybody pretty much know everybody, and it's always that speakeasy, and you shouldn't say this because you're going to offend that one, and at the end of the day, I'm not against the government, Sterling, I'm not against the government. I am here to try to create awareness so that we can have some level of accountability and some checks and balances.
All right. Let's read this other comment that's come through. I'll try to read it verbatim. Right? It's entitled Port Pierce Compromise. Right? Shirley says the best compromise is to do the quote-unquote upland component and only one pair. So it should not be a yes or no referendum. A third option is the one pair option. Space for 4 Oasis-class ships will result in 20 to 25,000 passengers coming ashore. This, as we have found out in the past, is too many. One pier and continuing tendering for the smaller ships. That's what a person writes.
Well, again, whether we have one pair or 100 pairs, the environmental aspect still has to be addressed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, one of the other things that the government has campaigned on in terms of why we should have pairs is because we were trying to eliminate tendering and speed up the process and reduce the risk of people having to come from boat to dock.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there are a lot of aspects of this that has to be talked about, and a lot of people are only looking at one aspect of it. The reality is that if the government then, let's say we, if the government is saying to the public that the reason why we're doing it is A, B, and C. One, we have to increase our numbers, stay competitive. Okay, we can put a check mark to that. Not too many people would disagree that we don't want to stay competitive and that we don't want to increase our numbers based on financial revenues. Okay, now what are we going to spend and what are we going to give up and at what cost are we going to get? We're going to attain that, right? So now B, we're going to eliminate tendering and reduce the risk, and people don't have to stand up in the hot sun, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Improve the experience.
So we put a question mark next to that one because we have to have a discussion now. Mm-hmm. And then, C, we're going to ensure that jobs are created and upland development is properly distributed fairly amongst those people who want to come in and set up businesses. Another question mark. So, number one, we have to measure the cost and the benefits and all the things against what we're going to be giving up from an environmental standpoint to see whether or not increasing our revenues and staying competitive in the jurisdiction is worth it. That's number one. And then to B, we have to respectfully say that we're not eliminating tendering, because if you build in a four ship pair and we got 8 ships, 4 still have to tender. They still have to go through the process that we currently have. And the biggest hurdle of all is infrastructure, accommodations. Where are we going to put all these people? We have an issue at Stingray City right now, which is our biggest tourist draw. We have an issue right now with infrastructure in terms of accommodating all these people. We don't have people lined up on the sidewalk in Georgetown trying to get back on a ship because we have proper infrastructure. It's because we don't have proper infrastructure.
When we come after the break, let's talk more about that. Let's ask about the question of tendering. We hear from those who take cruises that the big Oasis class ships and the islands that are owned or leased by the cruise lines, when they pull up, they tend to their locations too. Listen, the phone lines are open, 949-8037. Give us a shout after our news break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
24-year-old Caitlin Tyson is crowned the new Miss Cayman Islands Universe 2018. Miss Tyson won the title on Saturday night at a packed Westin resort, outdoing the 6 other contestants of the pageant. The Caymanian-American actress, model and writer also walked away with the award for Best Smile and People's Choice. Along with her win, Miss Tyson receives a $70,000 scholarship from the Ministry of Tourism and will represent the country at the Miss Universe pageant in Thailand. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, food supplies in the Afghan city of Ghazni are running low as a battle with the Taliban rages for a 4th day. A man who fled the city on Sunday told the BBC that life is getting hard for people because they can't get food or water. More than 100 government soldiers and police have been killed since the Taliban stormed Ghazni from 4 sides early on Friday. The Indonesian capital of Jakarta is home to 10 million people, but it's also one of the fastest sinking cities in the world. If this goes unchecked, researchers say parts of the mega city could be entirely submerged by 2050. Is it too late? Well, it sits on swampy land, the Java Sea lapping against it, and 13 rivers running through it. So it shouldn't be a surprise that flooding is frequent in Jakarta, and according to experts, it's getting worse. But it's not just about freak floods. This massive city is literally disappearing into the ground. And somewhere in France there lies buried a small bronze statuette of an owl in flight. Whoever finds it is promised not just the prize of the original sculpture made of gold and silver, but the kudos of having won the world's longest running treasure hunt. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. It is Open Line, and I'm grateful, for Mario Rankin, not just for the company, but I hope you don't mind. It's not meant to be just a compliment. The number of people, as I said it outside, who have shared with me, might not agree with what he's saying, but I like his courage, his tenacity.
Well,
it's important.
It's hard. It's hard to disagree with wanting the very best for every Caymanian. And, at the end of the day, like you said, I'm not everybody going to agree, not everybody going to, don't kill the messenger.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Just
pay attention to the message.
Exactly. And let's get to a point where when we're disagreeing on principle. Mm-hmm. It's not about personality, we can argue about who's the best football player because of their style, but we can argue about that they're both good football players for argument's sake, right? I mean, by the way, Pele will always be the best, Zico was his protege, but, these little boys nowadays, they're just kidding.
Yeah.
Some guys go, who's Pele? Or Zico? Mario, let me ask two things, right? Again, stemming from the conversation that I had earlier with these two groups, right? And I'm really, really grateful. Sometimes it is costly, in many respects too. I said to these guys, you imagine what your reputation is like to be seen with me in the mornings having coffee.
Imagine mine. Sure.
But two things came out of the discussion that stands out. One is, I don't know how many of us know. I mean, I'm only in the last years that these big ships that we were told, hey, listen, they can't be tendered. That when they pull up to their islands in the Bahamas or other parts of the Caribbean, that are either owned or leased by the cruise lines, the passengers come, they get on the cruise ships, go enjoy the thing, come to these islands, get off on the tenders, and they go ashore to this resort like, all-inclusive, a wonderful experience. But they're not docking up at a dock. They're getting on a tender, another smaller boat to go ashore.
Right.
I haven't taken a cruise, right? So I don't know that for a fact. But I've read it and people have told me, yep, that's how it works.
Well, these Genesis-sized ships are willing to tender. That's a fact. We had one or two. We have them. They come here.
We've seen that, right?
Yeah, they come here and they tender. They don't have it. They would much rather a cruise berthing but they're not gonna not call your port because you don't have a cruise berthing, and we understand that. Cayman is geographically positioned in probably one of the best locations in the Caribbean. You understand? We're not too far east and we're not too far west. We central and western Caribbean, good spot.
Yeah,
and we have, and I would venture to say, the prettiest stretch of beach in the entire Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay. So Cayman has Cayman sells itself very well, along with being the safest jurisdiction in the Caribbean.
But that's it. And that's the thing that I want to emphasize, because it was emphasized in both groups this morning. I wish I could say it the way the guy said it, but I don't have his accent and intonation. The safety and the experience that the cruise passengers, all of our guests, but the cruise passengers specifically, he said we're losing that. We're failing to appreciate that. That's a poor experience that they have.
Well, our tourism product has definitely gone left field. Certainly we've allowed an exorbitant amount of companies to open up to do the same thing, and now they're not the face of Caymanian.
The quality of service is down?
Well, the quality of service is not a Caymanian experience. I would venture to say that 75% of the individuals who operate in the water sports and some of these boats are all foreign nationals, and it's not an authentic Caymanian experience. Now, one would say, oh, well, you don't have a Caymanian to fill a repose. Well, if we had properly developed and had stayed in pace with our harvest, we would have, and made sure that we had laws to protect those industries, you would have Caymanians in those jobs. We got 2,000, 3,000 Caymanians down Land Center right now.
For 2 weeks work.
For 2 weeks work. We could train half of them and eliminate. Again, that's a whole nother monster to take on. But you see my point, right? So when we talk about the tourism product and all these things, let me just throw a very interesting scenario out there. Okay. We have all these numbers, 1.8 million cruise tourism that came in here in the past year, right? That's a significant increase. Our goal is 2.4. Okay, great. So 2.4 results in more business for the water sports, more business for the taxis, more business for the beach vendors and all there, but who rent stuff and all that, and they potentially spend money within our economy, blah blah blah. So let's just say the government wasn't getting any head tax for every cruise passenger. Would they be interested in building a cruise berthing?
No, that's the economics, right? Go ahead.
Well, why I say that is because it's not going to change the revenue being made from the private companies that are generating money by tours and all the other spin-offs. The only thing that changes is that the government get direct revenue. Now, the government will still get revenue because money will be spent within the economy, and that money will be then in turn banked or whatever, and fees will be paid. But let's say the government wasn't making money off a head tax, and I only say that because then we'll see what type of initiative the government would make in terms. You would think that the whole story would change then. Then they wouldn't be campaigning that, we need to stay competitive, we need to increase this and all these other things. Then it would go away. So it tells you that it all boils down to dollars and cents. And if we cannot take care of 50,000 people with a $2.7 billion GDP, and we can't do that now, what's the sense of increasing it? And at a cost where we're going to destroy our infrastructure, water down our tourism product, destroy our stay over passengers simply because we have geared everything towards cruise tourism. The reality is we have to have a balance. We have to understand when enough is enough and what we can manage and what we can't manage.
Right.
Okay?
Can I share this WhatsApp with you respectfully, right? And I think you're sufficiently astute enough that we take the good with the bad and
of course,
complement that with the criticism. Right? So here's a comment. I'll read it verbatim. Right? It says, good afternoon, Dwayne. I would like to make a couple of comments. First of all, to Mario. I hear you on the radio every week make a lot of comments and suggestions criticizing the government, but in my opinion, he's just another want-to-be politician. Politician. A pure example is Elio Solomon and Austin Harris. That they criticized until they got elected, then they joined with one of the parties. My advice to you, Mr. Mario, is to put up or shut up. Now, I
like it. I like the ignorance and the deflection. He should have just said fake news. But let me just respond to that. Number one, tell him to text back what a wannabe politician, the definition of a wannabe politician, or his definition. That's number one. Number two, I'm not elected in this country. I wasn't elected before, and I'm not elected now, but I still doing the same thing consistently after. Secondly, if he think what I am saying is criticism, then Cayman is in a lot serious position than I originally thought. Thank God he's in the minority, in my personal opinion. And you know what? The reality really is that individuals like that fail to listen to what anybody's saying. Because if I said, and I don't know what field he works in or she works in, the reality is if I said that I want to see wealth spread out amongst more average Caymanians than has originally been taking place over the last 50 years. Let me ask you this question, sir. Who in Cayman would disagree with that statement? Whether you like Mario or you don't, or whether your opinion is that I want to be a politician or not, would you disagree that you would want to see more wealth spread amongst average Caymanians or not? Would you disagree that you want to see proper health care and education for Caymanians? Because if you go back to every show that I've been on, I never said that I want better education and health care for Mario, for everybody. I want the government to take into consideration the man on the bottom and start spending all our resources taking care of the people on the top. Now, that person have the right to say whatever they want, and I'm not saying anything against them, and I won't pass any comments about what my opinion is of people like that. The reality is that if that person could text back and, one, give me the definition of a wannabe politician, and two, name one single thing that I've said on this radio station today or any other day that is reflective of me personally and not the better good of Caymanians. So whether you want to disagree or we can both, have a open dialogue, you could easily call in, and they got a toll-free number. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm not here to tear down anybody. The reality is that I challenge that person to call in or text back and highlight one single thing that I said on this radio that was not in the best interest of everybody in Cayman who have been marginalized.
Now, for those who are listening, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Mario Rankin sits with us. Mario, one other thing from the discussions where the group that I referenced earlier, who pretty much they said they were in favor of a port and certainly need to move forward, but starting to become, my interpretation, a little ambivalent. Well, is this the right time, the right place? Mm-hmm. What drove them was the extent of the cargo aspect of it.
Right.
I made a note,
which is very essential.
Yeah.
We import everything.
One said that even during inclement weather times and Christmas time in particular, you see the nor'westers, and in the Georgetown Harbor, as good as it was then, is there a better location both for the cruise port, but specifically for the cargo?
Yeah,
and
there is a better location. I just want to before I talk about it, I just want to address the last point that person made about put up or shut up or whatever the indication was. Let me just explain to that person. From the early 90s, right? From the very early 90s, 1994, 95, I was involved with community groups, doing a lot of projects within the communities when I was very young. I was involved with a number of different projects. I chose not to be a part of Commanders Club or Rotarians or Leos. I chose not to be a part of them because when I looked into the whole initiative, I had my personal issues with it, right? That's the reason why I didn't try to get involved with any of those. Secondly, I have done a lot of personal work within the community at large that I lived in for a very long time. And I had no reservations with any of the things that we'd done simply because we saw that there were a lot of issues within our community that we, as the community, could have dealt with without having to approach the government. And I think that's where a lot of communities has gone awry now, because we put so much emphasis on what the government should do for communities, and we don't get together collectively as a community and put together fundraisers and drives and these things that we did. And be able to accomplish some of the things that we needed done within the community, like clean up in parks and make sure that we had senior citizen parties and had that every year. So the reality is that from time I was a very young man, I got involved with playing my part within the community, and I've done so ever since. It only intensified since I had my first child in 2001, where I became more interested in what the environment was, because now I got fend for more than just me. So at the end of the day, when a person wants to try to knock you off your perch or say something to make you become adversarial and ignorant, I take that with a grain of salt because I grew up in an environment where that was constantly happening, and you constantly made these mistakes in order to learn. Listen, at the end of the day, I know what I've done for the community that I grew up in, and I've done consistently over the last 25 years. Those are the facts. So when you say put up or shut up, because I don't go and get a photo op, or I don't try to have a photo op and publicize everything that I've done within the community. And the only reason why I mention it now is because they asked the question. You know, I think I've done my share, and I want to emphasize that nothing that I have done publicly when it comes to wanting to put things in place had anything to do with what I wanted to benefit from. Personally, it had nothing. It was always a global initiative for all of us. I want everybody to be able to enjoy self-sustain and personal wealth.
All right. Well, I think Ms. Souza, call in the final break in the final call. Hey, will you come back, Mario? A couple more minutes with me. It's just a Monday. Imagine what Friday's going to look like.
Super Mario Mondays.
Super Mario Mondays. You better remember what a woman said to bring that chocolate. Pause and take a final break. When we come back, more talk today.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Save 50% off a complete pair of glasses with any student eye exam. From now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook. Located in the Caymanian Village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah! And they have lots of cars on sale. Some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount, or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly! And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Watch out for great mobile value and exciting free gifts from Flow this summer. The Samsung Galaxy A8 is yours for as low as $43.25 a month, and you can enjoy 25 gigabytes of data, 2,000 texts, and minutes on a Flow postpaid mobile value plan. Sign up and have even more fun with free summer gifts from Flow, like air travel vouchers, movie tickets, sound systems, and more. Share your summer experiences with Flow. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply. Watch out, summer. Flow postpaid mobile plans are sizzling.
This is a public service announcement for a lost dog. Kaiser went missing yesterday, Sunday evening. There have been reports that the dog was spotted in the vicinity of the Countryside Shopping Mall. Kaiser is a brown dog with 4 white paws, white on its belly, and very distinctive hazel-colored eyes. The dog is wearing a light blue collar and is very friendly. If you've seen sightings of Kaiser, please call Wilma anytime, day or night, at 916-3741 or 949-9710. That's 916-3741 or 949-9710.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening, sharing your thoughts, either on email. You know, I love email, right? I'm told it's antiquated, outdated technology. Unless you're in business, you need something for CYA, not so much KYC. But for the emails that came through that I could share, for the WhatsApps, and for the calls, in particular for Mario, for you spending time. Not to belabor it, the comment that I read earlier, the person responded back and said basically, you know, not saying that you don't have some good points, just that, you know, other politicians in the past, you know, they would say good ideas, and then when they got elected, they end up to sing a different song. What I want you to do, Mario, is to run again. Well, is what this person is saying.
Well, okay. Well, let me just respond and just by simply saying, look, at the end of the day, the previous text didn't illustrate that I had good ideas, and it didn't illustrate that they would have wanted somebody like me to run. But I will address that because everybody's subject to change. And obviously when you have a conversation with those who you had the misconceived idea that they were somebody other than they are, because it happened to me plenty of times. I judge people without talking to them, and I learned from that. I've been subjected to that before. But the reality is that, number one, let me just make this very clear. I don't know Elio Solomon and I ain't know Austin Harris. That's number one. And he absolutely right. Austin beat up his chest for 7 years on the radio, got elected, and now he become the quiet little mouse in the corner. I agree with that. You 100% right on that one. And secondly, at the end of the day, is that if I was here advocating for something that wasn't for all of us, by all means, take as many shots as you want, because that would be hypocritical of me, because that's not who I am. A lot of people only hear about who I am. A lot of people make judgments based on what they heard about who I am. And just recently, I was involved in a situation where somebody actually told another person that they felt that they were better than me, and that they above me, and that they are higher class than me. Now, the old Mario would have acted on impulse, and I would have responded very, very angrily and adversarial. But I laughed at that. I said, because, at the end of the day, I know what I represent. I know the type of person that I am. Contrary to popular belief, they can say whatever they want, and that's fine. Everybody have the prerogative and the right to say and have their own opinions. So I'm not here to defend. It's not no defend Mario Day. The reality is that
Super Mario Day.
Yeah, Super Mario Mondays. So the reality is that if you have that idea, I'm glad that we had the opportunity. I'm glad you sent in the text, because now you have a better idea of the type of person that I am. And I can tell you, Sterling, for many, many, many years, that I worked with the community and did community projects. I did that out of sheer love, because I came out of an environment where it was only me and my older brother. My grandaunt raised us. We didn't have any proper family unit in place. They did the best they could with 2 young boys. And I never really knew what being a part of a family or being a part of an organization that had any meaning. So when I had the opportunity to be a part of a community that appreciated my efforts, It was a very good feeling, and it was something that I was missing all my life. I never had an opportunity to be a part of anything like that. So I did it with pride, and I did it every year, and I put a lot of work and effort into it. And I felt like, and I can tell you, it was the first time in my life that I felt like I was actually doing something that was meaningful. So I did it out of the love of being a part of something.
Perfect, man. Well, this is what I like with you. I appreciate you share privately as you do publicly. Let's take this call, though. Yeah. Mario Rankin is the voice that you're hearing. Let's go to the phones and join this caller. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Mr. Moderator, and good afternoon to your guest, Mr. Rankin. How are you gentlemen doing?
Afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
In the gardens of the Brack.
It's a hot day. I'm actually on the job site, so I can't speak very, very long. I'm just taking a little 2 or 3 minutes to quickly call in. I'm not tuned in. As I said, I'm working the grounds today, so I don't have a radio nearby. I'm not sure what the topic is, but the reason I called is to quickly say that there is a sector of Cayman Brack that has asked me to be their voice, to call the show, to try and get copies of the petition. If he is innocent, bring Governor Chowdhury back. We want to sign the petition here in the Brack. So if Mr. Billy Adam is listening, or any other committee member, please send copies to the Brack. Send them, attention, Quincy Brown, and I'll make sure I put them at various supermarkets and other places of business so that interested Cayman Brackers living on the Brack can sign the petition. If he is innocent, bring the governor back. I thank you much. Have a great day, gentlemen. Back to work.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Again, another involved, informed, astute. But Mario, it shows that our people are concerned about democracy. But strangely enough, and this is sort of the last comment I'll share about the 2 groups this morning that I spoke with, right? At their invitation, I accepted, the chance to sit and chat. As I said to them, I hope you don't mind me not partaking of, what's before us, but it's only because of circumstance, right? And what I found that I left with each of those groups is that the reluctance, the reticence, almost sharing willingness to say what they were saying in a form other than what they were saying. Not as a guest there, not as a caller, not as a letter writer, no public sentiment. And it concerns me. Because these are people who I believe are incredible people who are like you, loving this country and wanting the best for its people. But they don't have the courage and conviction of people like you who say it publicly. Now, could be many reasons, but
Yeah, I mean, I definitely won't pass any comment on terms of why not, because I don't know. I don't know the situation, so I won't judge.
No,
but I'm happy that they are having the conversation, no matter what level they have it on or who they having it with. That means they have that conscious awareness of what's happening within Cayman, and that they are fully aware, and that maybe at some point we might be able to convince them to cross that line.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, something that one of the fellows, as we were walking out, left me. They said, and it was part comment, part inference.
Right.
Oh, you speak to the politician who's your friend, and you say, Johnny or James or Mary or Margaret or whatever the politician's name is, we're good friends, we're just that and the next thing. But boy, I believe going down this road isn't the best time, or maybe do it this way, or whatever that thing is, right? Believing that you have that relationship. One of the guys said, get to a point where whether it's this government or it's the last one, you almost expect it to be the next one. Anytime the politician isn't hearing what they want to hear, or you're saying something that they don't agree with, then there's this roadblock, there is this fence and wall, and there is this.
Well, it's almost like when we have these politicians who only act based on a photo op, and they're not doing something unless it's going to be publicized, and we already know what type of person or what type of politician that is. So, it's our responsibility to be able to identify those people and not vote for them moving forward.
Well, it's for us to be able to speak publicly and pass comment, but try not to make it so vitriolic and personal and petty that we can't maybe agree on something else the next time, or agree to disagree. Healthy discussion. I appreciate you sharing with us this afternoon. I only realize now that we're getting almost that time where we got. But any closing thoughts you want to leave with us?
Well, yeah, I just want to close by saying this. I think it's absolutely imperative to the quality of our social environment. It is really unfortunate that we have Caymanians out there who think that they're better than other Caymanians based on their family lineage or their position in society in terms of jobs, or what part of the island they grew up in. It's really unfortunate, because it's not a lot of us. And the last thing we should be doing is trying to create division and ostracize and criticize other Caymanians. I think that this is a time in our history where Caymanians are needed to be unified more than ever, because we see a system that is designed to allow anybody to come here and be one of us and bring their influences and take over. And it's becoming painfully obvious that Caymanians are now the minority in this country, and the policymakers and the legislators are people who are heavily influenced by that. Sorry, I don't normally freeze up, but at the end of the day, I have a lot on my mind right now. But our politicians and our legislators and our policymakers are being influenced by those entities, and it's not reflective of who we are as Caymanians. And this is not the time for us to fall apart. This is the time for us to unite and come together and work for the best interest of Caymanians and what's in the best interest of Caymanians. And when it comes to the government making any decision that is not in the best interest of every single soul on this island, we shouldn't be doing it at all. And I just want to say, when we enact this referendum for this crew's birthing, I want all of those registered voters to not look at it as some disagreement with the government, but as an opportunity to take a democratic stance against something that we don't feel that's in the best interest of the Caymanian people. And I want to thank Radio Cayman for allowing me to come on a regular basis in order to have this platform and have dialogue and talk about the fundamental issues that affect Caymanians. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing with us, and to our listeners for joining in. I invite you to come back tomorrow for more Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Until then, be blessed.
Young World Fashion going out of business sale. Everything must go. All stocks reduced. Up to 75% on all items. We would like to thank you, our valued customers, for their patronage over the many years. Young World Fashions is located on Eastern Avenue. Everything must go.
It's going down for it.
Call 949-6313. Young World Fashions going out of business sale. Up to 75% on all remaining items. Everything must go.
It was great catching up with you. I've got to go pick up my prescription at Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor.
But you live in West Bay. Do you know you can go to Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square, their second location?
Really?
Yes, and if you go to healthcarepharmacy.ky, you can refill and transfer your prescriptions online and collect at either location.
That's so convenient. Thanks. I'm off to Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square.
Healthcare Pharmacy Grand Harbor, Healthcare Pharmacy Governor Square, and always healthcarepharmacy.ky.
The Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, in association with the Cayman Islands Cancer Society, presents Steve Higgins and Friends in Embracing Romance. An elegant evening with Dahlia Winter, April Marr, Amaya Lewis, and Steve Higgins. Sunday, September 2nd at the Marriott Beach Resort, 7 Mile Beach at 6 p.m. sharp. Come hear impeccable performances of timeless love songs, punctuated by riveting, stunning creative dance in a classy, romantic evening. Tickets at Funky Tangs or Super Stitch and Virtue, or call 916-5008. That's Embracing Romance, Sunday, September 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Marriott Beach Resort with Steve Higgins and Friends. Proceeds will go to the Cayman Islands Cancer Society and the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. Sponsored by Harney's, NCB Capital Markets, S&P, Auger, and Radio Cayman.